everybody. Happy Wednesday. It's so nice to see all of you. We're back to our usual format of 3 glorious stories to discuss. It continues to be very slow in Hollywood right now, though. I think it's a combination of still having not totally recovered from the strikes, also still not quite knowing how to handle the balance between streaming and theatrical. Thank you, Dancing Dog 60. And then also, I think because of the fires, obviously, I think that has really had a tremendous impact on the industry. I think just really incredible. But yes, there is lots of drama. Who said that? That's right, Paul. Lots of drama. I will say I can't believe that Justin Baldoni Blake Lively case is not going to go to court until 2026. I'm like, a whole freaking year of this. Are you kidding me? Thank you, Donner. But it's, I think that is just way too long. As I've said before, they should not have, I think that's a can of worms or a Pandora's box that should not have been opened. There are nuclear fusion. I turned the volume up. The volume is, okay, now it's all the way up. That's as high as it goes on my end. Hey, Maria, thank you for gifting a membership. Mexican Nacho, I'm glad you're excited about the Emilia Perez story. So we'll see what happens. I'm not quite sure when things are going to pick up, to be honest with you. 2025 was supposed to be back to normal, and I think it's probably the worst. I think it's the worst January we've had in about certainly 3 years. It's pretty shocking. Not a single major film released during the month. That's right, Paul. It used to be survived to 2025. Now I don't know what they're going to say. All right, so let's get started. As usual, please try to keep your questions and comments to the story at hand. There will be a short Q&A at the end of each section about that section. But then, as always, at the end of the live stream, for the final 10 minutes, you can ask me anything that you would like. All right, so story number 1. All right, here we go. Boop. All right, so Patti LuPone. Patti LuPone loves to talk. She'll sink ships, all kinds of stuff. Thank you, Aralysis. So Patti LuPone, thank you, Bubbles. Patti LuPone, she just loves to talk, and she loves to talk about stuff she's not supposed to talk about. So there was an interview with her the other day, or one resurfaced and materialized, and it's so slow right now. Bam, it became a headline, and everybody was talking about it. So what did she say? So to paraphrase, Patti LuPone said that according to what she heard, you can see she's friends with Jac Schaeffer. They're buddy-buddy. She said Jac Schaeffer not only said she wasn't going to do an Agatha All Along season 2, but that also I think it was crazy that the reasoning is that Jac Schaeffer feels it involves too much writing. I'm like, how could it be more writing than season 1? I mean, Jac Schaeffer really writes her series quite well. That's why they're so good, because she layers in all this meaning and clues and mystery. It's very, very good. So not only did she say there wouldn't be an Agatha All Along season 2, but that Jac Schaeffer confided in her, don't tell Patti LuPone a secret, that Marvel had asked Jac Schaeffer to make a WandaVision season 2, and Jac Schaeffer said no. Oh my God! I guess she said, I'd like to make an Agatha show. And that's what they got instead. I'm surprised that Jac Schaeffer could shut down a WandaVision season 2. I'd be like, if you don't want to make a WandaVision season 2, I'm going to give it to somebody else. Think about that, Jac. Think about that. But I'm very happy with how things turned out. I like Agatha, although, of course, Agatha was way down in terms of viewership compared to WandaVision. But luckily, it was very inexpensive to make. All right, so I think this kind of plays into still Disney's reluctance to make second seasons, although apparently they want to, and the talent says no. But, they keep having a new show instead of a second season, and that's been hurting them in the Nielsen ratings because there's no show to catch up on. And so that usually, particularly with Nielsen, will catapult the show into the top 10. One of the things that's interesting about Luminate, which is trying to compete with Nielsen, and we'll see how that works out, but Luminate does it by season. So that would have an effect on who can chart and who cannot. But yes, so Disney, particularly with the MCU, is struggling with, whether or not they should have multiple seasons. Kevin Feige said he's going to do it, but apparently Jac Schaeffer ain't into it. Star Wars has done it. The Mandalorian's been through 3 seasons, so is the Bad Batch. Ahsoka's getting a season 2. Andor's getting a season 2. So at least over in Star Wars, they're willing to do that. Now, of course, what about Wiccan and Agatha? They ended their show saying, let's go find Tommy. So obviously their story is going to continue. The question is, where is it going to continue? Is it going to continue in a show, or are they going to jump into a movie with the Children's Crusade? Although that was Let's Go Find Mom. So that's the second step after going to find Tommy. But that was an incredible ending, although I really do not like Agatha's look. I do not like the look that she ended on. But anyway, that was an incredible ending. That's right, Karaoke Ken. Watch it happen off screen. But yes, so that was a really amazing ending. I love the synergy of Wanda and Agatha both having lost their sons and now kind of sharing these new sons that are reincarnated, so not their sons but yet not. I think it's very interesting. And of course, she heard Nikki. She heard her son Nicholas. So he's there somewhere. Nicholas Scratch. But yeah, some of you are saying, where the heck is Wanda? I'm so tired of using the same image of Wanda because we haven't gotten a new image of Wanda since Multiverse of Madness. So every time I want a recent picture of Wanda, I got to go to Multiverse of Madness. People are just, and she's still popular despite no new content for us to devour. So I really feel like it is an amazing image for Fernando, of course. But I need more Wanda. Where is Wanda? It's absolutely ridiculous. It's just been way too long. Now, of course, there are rumors that she's going to show up in Avengers Doomsday. However, when Wanda and Doom were together, it was a part of the comics The Children's Crusade, where Billy and Tommy were looking for their mom, and they found her with, oh, who's this? New dad, Doom. They're like, what about Vision? Sorry, guys. Mika, Vision Quest is an interesting situation. I don't know if Tommy's going to show up there. They might instead have Vision build his own son, as he did in the comics. He built a son and a daughter that were also robots. So, that's how Vision handled his grief. So, we're not quite sure how Vision's going to play out. But I will tell you, Kevin Feige has such a deep bench at this point that I think one of his chief problems is that it takes too long to get these stories told. It was so long. It was 3 or 4 years between WandaVision and Agatha all along. And you need to pick up the pace on this stuff. But yes, so I think that if Wanda does show, I think that Wiccan was such a great character and so well received. That's right. I don't care, Bear. Wonder Man is part of the same equation. But I think that it's kind of ridiculous that if Wanda's going to return, particularly with Doom, how do you not have Billy, at least Billy, but hopefully Billy and Tommy, a part of that? That's such a big part of the story. So that's where, most likely to see Wanda again. But then I thought it was very interesting that Jac Schaeffer was saying no. That Jac Schaeffer was having all these wonderful opportunities put in front of her, and she was turning them down. We so often talk about wanting to see more diversity in the talent behind the camera. But that talent needs to say yes to offers and to themselves. And it reminded me a little bit, that's why I have her noted here, of Kate Herron. Remember Kate Herron? Kate Herron did a wonderful job directing Loki season 1, and they had wanted her to come back for season 2. And yet, she decided to go and pursue something else. And that was very frustrating. Of course, I want Jac Schaeffer and Kate Herron to be artistically fulfilled, but at the same time, I'm really looking to see some women, as well as many groups, start to have real momentum and success in the space like their white male counterparts. So that to me is how I feel about it. And I think we have some women who are doing a bad job. Every time there's a Kathleen Kennedy or a Patty Jenkins, you're like, or a Chloe Zhao, you're like, oh no, like it makes women look bad in this space. But yet it's frustrating that every time a woman hits a home run, they decide that they're not going to go take another swing at bat, but they're going to go take a break. Eric, I'm glad that Kate Herron signed to do the Sims movie, but when is that going to happen? This just takes too long. And I think it's frustrating. I mean, imagine where Kate Herron might be today. The path is, you direct another series, then maybe you get upgraded to a movie, and then you become a household name. It's frustrating. And that's right, Karaoke Ken. They're probably turning down, I would think, pretty big paydays as well. If that's part of the problem, if the paydays don't match the offer, then, I would hope that somebody would be willing to bring that to light. But it's just frustrating. I think these two women are both exceptionally talented, and they're not working and operating at the level of their male counterparts. And someone might say, well, they don't need to. And I think that's fair. Well, Ben 10, Coralie Farge is great, from The Substance, just like Justine Triet was great with Anatomy of a Fall. But where are the follow-up projects? Where are the follow-up projects? Look how long it's taking Greta Gerwig to get back out here. This is really important. Follow through. You don't want to just have a hit. You want to build a career. And that's really, really important. So I hope that we see something happen. And I don't understand why Jac Schaeffer doesn't have an overall deal at Marvel or Disney overall. I feel Jac Schaeffer is incredibly talented, and I feel that should be recognized. And apparently Kevin Feige's trying. Patti LuPone, she told on Jac Schaeffer, she said it's Jac Schaeffer saying no. Kevin Feige's offering Jac Schaeffer deals, and Jac Schaeffer keeps saying no. I guess you have to say, well, what would interest you, Jac Schaeffer? What do you want to do? And I hope she says, I want to do a Wiccan series. But how would that work? When would it happen? Could it possibly be ready before Avengers Doomsday? I would love for them to fast track it and have it come out before Avengers Doomsday. Or maybe, I guess, between Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars, but that wouldn't make any sense unless somehow Wanda takes a break between the two movies. We'll see what they decide to do. But it's frustrating. It's very frustrating. It's very frustrating to know that what you want, the powers that be want to give it to you, but yet the talent is unwilling to cooperate. All right, so any questions or comments about this story? Diego says, does Elizabeth even want to come back? I think that she does. I think she's been frustrated that she hasn't been able to. I think that she feels that her Marvel work has painted her into a corner. And, when she first signed with Marvel, she was being taken very seriously as an actress. Like Marcy May Marlene or whatever. She had a really strong career, which is how she got Wanda. But I think that her Marvel work has ground that to a halt. But you know what? I think an important thing to realize as an actor is just in life, is that sometimes you don't always get to go the course that you had wanted to. And I think that if you find yourself on a successful path, you should just commit to that. Obviously there are certain exceptions, but, I think don't underestimate. Well, I think also that Kevin Feige hasn't brought her back. I think it's been a very frustrating situation for Elizabeth Olsen. I think that I think that the way her character was depicted in Multiverse of Madness was frustrating for her. Then she got benched. And then she hasn't been able to get any other work. And when she does, even if she does a great job, it's not recognized. Like she did a wonderful job in that Max miniseries opposite Jesse Plemons. And just really nobody paid attention to that. David says, we are waiting for a Scarlet Witch movie as long as we did with the Black Widow movie. That's a very scary comparison, David, because the Black Widow movie just didn't materialize in a good way. And the only one it really worked out for was her replacement, played by Florence Pugh. That's right, Mystic. It was called Love and Death. J. Jonah James says, didn't you just say that they wanted to do a WandaVision season 2? Yes, but then Jac Schaeffer said no. And so, Kevin Feige took that and said okay and didn't offer the season 2 to anybody else. So that must be even more frustrating for poor Elizabeth Olsen. Jesse says, is Wiccan her replacement? Can both exist in the same space? That's a great question, and I think that's something that the MCU needs to be aware of as they work so hard to introduce so many kids. They've really gone on a spree of introducing the next generation, I think we all assume, to set up Young Avengers. And I think that that's undercutting their adult heroes, who still have plenty of story left to tell. Also, it's extremely difficult to replace a character with a next generation character. I don't know anyone who's successfully done it. They even tried to do it with Superman with Jonathan Kent. And actually, Jonathan Kent is actually kind of Wiccan coded, come to think of it. And Jonathan Kent worked out okay, but he couldn't be the new Superman. He had to just be like Wiccan, kind of, but for Superman. So he's still there, but it's very, very hard to do it. Very difficult. And, I don't think that Yelena is a new generation. Yelena is another Black Widow. I'm talking about a younger character, like a teen or a tween, and that's who takes over. I think it would be, I hope there is room for Wanda and Wiccan. I would love to see them both working together. Wiccan is a wonderful character, and I think that you saw that realized with Agatha all along. But I would think that would be very bad for everybody if that no more Wanda. Miles Morales is a great character, Lucas, but he's also his own character. He's not the new Spider-Man. Peter Parker still exists. Austin says they should have introduced the Young Avengers as their own thing, not shoehorned each into respective heroes' projects. That's a great point, Austin. In the comic, like you're suggesting, they came out of nowhere, and everybody was like, who are these people? And that was very effective. There was a mystery to it. Who are these Young Avengers? And that was part of the first arc in the comic. That maybe would have been better than having to, as you said, shoehorn them into other people's movies and have everybody have a similar kind of story. Zay says, can't believe we were denied a season 2 of WandaVision. It's so bizarre to refuse to make it. It was beloved and the character is popular. That's right. It's so crazy to be just doing so well and the show so well received, and it got Emmy nominations, and it was just really incredible. It was really peaked Marvel Disney Plus. And for someone to walk away with that, I would be interested to know her reasoning. It can't just be that she didn't want to write too much. I think, after Patti LuPone spoke out of turn like this, I think that, I think it would benefit Jac Schaeffer to have some explanation as to what the nuance of the situation. As Yaya says, there has to be something missing from the conversation because it just doesn't seem to make any sense. That's right, Mika. Where's Moon Knight? They even made a little video and they were like, I think in Egypt, right? And they said, we're making Moon Knight season 2. And we were all like, woo! And then where is it? They even had a great cliffhanger ending. B. Brown says, what's your favorite Wanda shot or scene in the MCU? I did like how powerful and disturbing she was in Multiverse of Madness, even though I didn't like the way the character was written. I really liked when she crawled through that mirror. I thought that was really neat. I think one of the best things about the character is that Elizabeth Olsen gives her such pathos and dimension. I also really liked when she truly turned into the Scarlet Witch at the end of WandaVision. At the end of WandaVision, I thought that was an amazing shot as well. Sam Raimi had some great ideas visually, but I think development-wise he did a poor job. Look at Mystic, ready to fast forward. Okay, I think we're ready to go. All right, ready for the next story, right? Okay. All right. So we'll see what happens. I hope that soon Kevin Feige announces a Wiccan series. I think that that would be really exciting. I hope we don't have to wait all the way until Comic-Con to get that announcement. All right, story number 2. Boop. All right. I know a lot of you are thirsty for blood. Emilia Perez. So I've been thinking about this, and I think Hollywood has a real problem here with the Emilia Perez movie. So what's the situation? So Emilia Perez has been lauded very much so by Hollywood. It got a ton of gold. It was the most nominated at the Golden Globes. I think it's the most, or one of the most nominated for the Oscars. It is just getting tremendous recognition. across the board from within the Hollywood community. And actually, the Golden Globes won a number of awards, quite a number of awards. And there is some thought that that might happen at the Oscars as well. We'll see what happens with SAG, etc., and things like that. Now, what's the problem? The problem is that the movie is absolutely hated. So I'll say my thesis statement up front. I think that Emilia Perez is a perfect example of how Hollywood gets an idea of how they're going to be progressive and representative, and then they force that on the group that they say they're helping, even though the group is like, you're not helping me, you're hurting me. And Hollywood's like, no, this is for you, we're doing it for you. And then the group's like, you couldn't possibly be doing it for me because I hate it. And so I think that is, I think, very much kind of what happened with the political situation as well this year with the election. That, Hollywood says an awful lot, but they're demonstrating a very, very clear inability to listen. It's not a two-way street, and that is really condescending, and that is, I think, it's a bad look for Hollywood. All right, so the problem is, like, for instance, this director. I hate this guy. This is the director of Emilia Perez. It's a French film made about Mexico. For those of you who aren't aware, it's about a drug dealer and a very bad criminal down in Mexico who terrorizes the citizens of Mexico. But deep down, he's trans and would like to transition to being a woman. And so he hires an attorney, Zoe Saldana, to represent him through that process to become her. And then she comes back and reconnects with her family. Selena Gomez plays her wife when she was a man. And that's what the movie is about. And it's a musical, and it's all in Spanish. And, they talked to this director about it. And they said, did you do any research into Mexican culture? And he said, no. And they're like, did you talk to anybody from Mexico about how they feel about the situation? And they said, no. And he said, no. And it's like, did you hire anyone from Mexico? No. So it's, they're like, Mexico is particularly upset about this. So Mexico is very upset about it, not only because of the horrible representation. Many people are saying that even the Spanish in the film is not spoken correctly. But also, they're saying, why would you humanize someone who terrorizes this country? These people are making Mexico a really dangerous, horrible place to live. It's really interesting and ironic and tragic that, in the United States, we're having this big discussion about illegal immigration, and not having any sympathy for people who are fleeing this horrible scenario. And then going and making a musical about the place where they're coming from, which is so horrible that they're fleeing and risking their lives to get out of there. And so, I mean, that's what I'm hearing. I'm listening. Like I told you, one of the best things about my having this channel and interacting with you, particularly on social media and in the live, is that, I think I've learned to listen more. And I think that's a really important skill set. And I think Hollywood is still having one-sided conversations. Popcorn Roulettes points out that the Latino Film Critic Organization gave Emilia Perez 17 nominations, which I think they really have to take a strong, hard look in the mirror as to how that could happen. Because look at this. This is a very big story about someone going through a journey as a trans person, and yet GLAAD, the organization that represents the LGBTQ plus community in the United States, snubbed Emilia Perez and has said outright that it is not good trans representation. And that is really, really important. And the fact that I don't understand how anyone could vote for this movie after these things have been made public. It's just, they're forcing this on, they're just forcing this on these groups who don't want it. And so here's the problem that they're running into. The Oscars are coming up, and if Emilia Perez wins a number of these awards, I think that that's going to really just create further distance and distrust in Hollywood from the general public. I also think it shows, it plays into a little bit, Jose says, hey Grace, not only have Mexicans been front and center, not only have, Mexicans are supporting other films like I Am Still Here from Brazil. That's right. But the thing that I wanted to say is, we talked yesterday about understanding other people, with the Captain America conversation and understanding other parts of the world and the way, things are. And I think the problem with Emilia Perez, in my opinion, as I've come to see it, is that it is a very outside opinion of what's going on in Mexico. And I think Emilia Perez epitomizes and therefore cements dangerous assumptions about how Mexicans feel about the situation in their own country. So instead of it being an opportunity to pull back that curtain and to show how Mexicans really feel about the situation that they find themselves in, instead it's just this fantasy from France that's being imposed on Mexico and imposed on the trans community. And people are screaming. I mean, it's one thing that it happened, all right? But people are screaming. They're screaming at the industry, and they're saying, they could not be saying more loudly, we hate this. This is insulting to us. This is incorrect. This makes us angry. This makes us sad. It's, I think Hollywood has to be careful not to shut off social media. I know it can be very combative and toxic, and they've had very bad experiences with fan communities. But it doesn't matter. You have to have a two-way street with your audience. The audience has to feel engaged and valued. And this, I think, is one of the worst examples I've ever seen of just completely ignoring your audience to the point of detriment. And I just think it's really a horrible situation. Also, this director, he's the guy who made a bad face when Cynthia Erivo got nominated for an Oscar. Stay in your lane, buddy. Stay in your lane. So I just felt that was really appalling. All right, so any questions? So that's my thoughts on it. If Emilia Perez wins a lot of Oscars, this is going to be really bad for Hollywood. Let's see here. Bernard says it's not just that, but Carlos Sofia Gascon has criticized and publicly said that so she is saying that only good Mexicans like. That's horrible. This is why. So when you become very, very successful, okay? Hold on, let me just make sure I didn't miss an important call. Oh, no, it's fine. Okay. All right, so anyway, when you become really, really, really successful, or even just a little bit successful, you're supposed to have a publicist who takes on your social media accounts. And they tweet for you. You don't tweet anymore. You stay off of it because you don't know what you're doing. So, in fact, publicists will plan out your tweets a month in advance. And they'll talk to you about, well, what do you think you're going to tweet about in February? Are you planning to go on vacation? Let's plan X number of tweets about that or Instagram posts. And there really is that level of management when you reach a certain level. Of course, I'm sure occasionally some celebrities will pick up their phone and do a tweet or post themselves. But that's really how you're supposed to. You get too emotional. You get upset. That's why I think talent that knows what it's doing has that representation, and it has the ability to say, I've lost they're too upset. They're too frustrated. And they're like, go, you take it over and you watch for me. And that's what you pay these people for. It's not, nobody likes to pay an army of people to work for them. You're like, oh my gosh, look at how much the paycheck's been whittled down. But people have these people in their lives for a reason. They protect you. Miguel points out, that Gascon is from Spain, not even Mexico. Not to have one person from Mexico associated in this film, I think is pretty shocking. Derek said the casting director also said they didn't cast Mexicans in the lead roles because there wasn't enough talent. Oh my God, I'm sure there's one talented person in Mexico, for the love of God. And there's a ton of roles in that movie. Let's see here. Bernard says, also pointing that out. Yeah. Oh my God. And then Joe says, I didn't like the movie because it tries to make the audience sympathetic to a drug-dealing killer. Maybe it could work, but not for me. Yeah, I think that I think the movie exposes a very unfortunate and ridiculous assumption about the people of Mexico and how they feel about their living situation. And to make the assumption that they're not upset and terrified and wish it were different is really bad. Let's see here. Lone Wolf, hey Lone Wolf, long time, says, thank you, Grace, for discussing the Emilia Perez controversy. As a member of the LGBT community, you're exasperated with Hollywood going full steam ahead with the praise for this film, despite all the valid criticisms. It really is shocking. It's shocking. I can't believe anybody would vote for that movie. I mean, I can understand how the nominations happened, but if it actually wins, I just don't even know what to say. It's just so bad, and how do they not see what's happened? Oh, Diego said that a trans Mexican filmmaker made a 30-minute film to poke fun of French stereotypes. And J. Jonah Jameson, that's a great point. Alejandro Cuarón comes from Mexico. Tons of incredible talent and films made there that are just amazing. Britt says, what I don't understand about this scandal is that this stuff always happens. Mexicans are always stereotyped in Hollywood. Even how about the infamous filter? That they're always putting a yellow-orange filter over South American countries. I think that's very true, Britt. I think that Hollywood is very slow to pivot, extremely slow to pivot. Ivan wants to point out that Emilia Perez does have Mexican actors, but as extras and in secondary roles. But, you have to have at least, I think, one actor from Mexico in a meaningful role. And there should have been an advisor. This is why you have advisors to films, I don't want to make a situation where only people from a certain group can work on certain stories, because that would limit creativity and opportunity. However, movies are a team effort. They are not made by one person, and you can always have advisors on every film. And so I think it would always benefit any film, especially when you are telling a story outside of your own realm of personal experience, that you would bring an advisor on, not just to do the right thing, but again, to protect yourself from this. Hey, Iara. And then Popcorn Roulette says, could this backlash benefit Ariana Grande in Best Supporting Actress? I don't know, because I don't think anyone's voting for Zoe Saldana for her actual performance. I think it's a career award. I think it's time that Zoe Saldana won something, and so that's really what's happening. Oh, Max said that Trixie Mattel and Katya went to town on Emilia Perez. Good for them. Nice work, ladies. The Chosen Loner says, will this affect the actor's career going forward? Well, it might affect Gascon if she's saying such horrific things. But I think that, Selena Gomez and Zoe Saldana should be fine. Popcorn Roulette wants to point out that Queer, also set in Mexico, was actually shot in Italy. That's interesting. That would explain why it felt so surreal and not authentic. Wanda's attorney, you feel personally responsible for Zoe Saldana's wins? That's funny. Enrique says, Adriana Paz is a talented Mexican actress in the film. I feel bad. People in Mexico are blaming her. That sucks. I haven't heard, I don't know what's going on in Mexico, but that's tough. Alberto says, if you were Saldana, you wouldn't want the win. I think she wants the win. I think Zoe Saldana, she'll take it. But this is not great nobody wants to be associated with this. It's not great. Although Javier wants to point out that Gascon is being attacked every day for being trans, so we should be considerate of the emotional space that she might be in. I definitely think that we should always take that into account, but I don't think that, I think it's hard to excuse hateful behavior. I feel bad that she doesn't have a better support system. Sophia says, is Audiard's career over? Is that the director, right? I think, no, I would never talk to him, and I don't think he'll be going and making any stuff with Hollywood. But I think he'll probably continue to make the sorts of films that he was making before, and, he'll just go back to being who he was. I wouldn't want anything to do with him. I think he's a really revolting person. Bernard, I saw the headlines that you're talking about on social media about it premiered in Mexico theaters and that people walked out and wanted refunds. But I couldn't find any. I couldn't find any like actual sources reporting that. So I get a little nervous about rumors on social media these days. That's right, Franco. Eugenio Derbez called out the movie for not having a good quality Spanish. He, of course, is a very famous Mexican talent. But, he obviously was not received well, and he had to apologize. I think his issue was that apparently he has a bad reputation already. I don't really know if he's the right person to be giving that sort of criticism. I think it's not, you really shouldn't criticize your peers. There are critics and there are journalists and other people to speak out on that manner. I don't think it's appropriate for one actor to criticize another. So I think that was an issue on it. And then also, I think he shouldn't have singled out, poor Selena Gomez in particular, who's a very sympathetic person. I think that he should have just said the film overall had an issue with the way Spanish was spoken. And then I think maybe his comment maybe would have been better received. Okay, I think we're ready for the next story. Okay, so we'll see what happens with Emilia Perez. Oh, Rashad wants to boop. Boop for the love of God. Okay. All right, you're very eager about. Do you have to go somewhere, Rashad? Okay, all right, hold on. All right, story number 3. Boom. Oh, boom, baby. There we go. All right. So we were just talking last week about Robert Eggers and that he is coming off of Nosferatu, which did extremely well, particularly for the type of film it is and for his type of movie. And then we were talking about that he had signed on to do Werewolf, coming out Christmas 2026. He's going to do the whole thing again, but instead of vampires, he's going to do werewolves. And I had said that I felt bad that he wasn't going the Christopher Nolan, Denis Villeneuve route. That he was sticking to his own space and he wasn't going after an IP. But, I spoke too soon. He's signing deals left and right. This guy's going to be busy because it was just announced that he's going to make a sequel to Labyrinth. That is a phenomenal idea, particularly when you see how this comes together. I think this is an exceptional idea for him. Exceptional. So I don't know if it'll be a family movie or not. The original movie, I don't even know if the original is a family movie. The original movie, of course, famously starred David Bowie and Jennifer Connelly in one of her early roles. So Jennifer Connelly was the 16-year-old looking after her baby brother Toby when she gets frustrated having a much younger brother and wishes him away to the goblins. And the Goblin King goes, yoink! And so that's the Goblin King, David Bowie. And so Jennifer Connelly has to go and save her brother in the world of the goblins. And it is a family movie, Hazel, but it has that weird, adult tone to it. And I think the people who would be most interested in a Labyrinth movie would be people who liked Labyrinth when they were growing up. I think that you're not going to want to avoid those fans. And so that's why you hire someone like Robert Eggers. Oh, Beetlejuice is an interesting comparison, Mystic. That's a good one, but even weirder. All right, so it was a combination of puppets and beautiful artistry and world building. Robert Eggers says he'd rather, never make a movie again rather than shoot a car or a cell phone. And I'm like, where's this teenage girl going to live? Although maybe it just takes place in the Goblin world because it's a sequel, it's not a remake. But obviously they'll have to recast these roles, and I'm very curious to see how they recast them. So this gets even better. So not only is it a sequel, all right, but the Hensons are involved in the project directly. Jim Henson's children, Brian and Lisa Henson, will produce and executive produce the film. That is incredible. Now, there isn't a business hat between the two of them, Because as you might recall, they did the Dark Crystal series on Netflix, which was a real snooze fest. And while a couple of people liked it, it fell apart and didn't do particularly well. And I couldn't even get through it. I thought it was so boring. So that was not great. But I think it's crucial to have not only their blessing, but their involvement. But then it gets even better. So Chris Columbus, who produced Nosferatu, as well as Harry Potter and Home Alone as the director. He and his daughter, who have started a production company, and they are behind Robert Eggers' movies, including Nosferatu, they are behind this movie. That is huge. So look at this grouping. You have Robert Eggers, the Henson family, and Chris Columbus making a new Labyrinth. I mean, that's incredible. I think that Chris, I don't know. Chris Columbus says he got into a lot of fights with studio executives about how to make things more commercial. So I hope that while he says he didn't like that, I hope that he understands, Popcorn Roulette. Could they do a CGI David Bowie? I think Robert Eggers would never do that. I think that maybe some studio executive would suggest it, but I think Robert Eggers would never do that. Thank goodness. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it was a Skarsgård. But let's find out who it is. But I think it's just Jennifer Connelly could come back. She's a very different persona these days. Oh, Garnet Fire says hire a drag queen to play the David Bowie role. That's a very exciting idea. Wouldn't that be interesting? I think it would be a delicate thing to do in a film like this. But I think that there's definitely the talent out there. And I think that Robert Eggers would certainly be interested in something like that. That's a very interesting idea. Let's see what they decide to do. But I mean, I don't know if I would definitely do it. Lady Gaga, I don't know. Lady Gaga, let's see. I guess I want to see how Lady Gaga navigates her post-Joker situation. But Lady Gaga's not a bad choice either. I would be open to these ideas. I would say, well, who would we bring in? Let me screen test them. And again, who is the movie? What are the choices? Are we aiming this at adult fans? I think it's very interesting. Dirk says Eggers loves Anya Taylor-Joy. That's right. She was supposed to be in Nosferatu. I don't know, but it's not a remake. Remember, it's not a remake. It's a sequel. It's an all-new story that Robert Eggers and his writing partner are creating. So it'll be very interesting to see what they come up with. But I like this idea. I think you could not have a better group of people. And I think they'll come up with something very interesting. And so I guess the next questions have to be, who is this made? Well, the first question is, these are actually in tandem. All right, so what is the budget and who is this made for? If the budget's going to be very big, then I have to make it for a broad audience. But if Robert Eggers can continue to work cheaply and keep this at around $50 million like he did Nosferatu, then we can go all in and go and do the adult things that we want to do with the film. That's how it works. You have to decide the budget, and the budget has to work with the goal. And he did a lot with $50 million. And that's right, Paul, they'll probably have a lot of practical effects because, they're going to be using puppets, which is great. I think this is very exciting. I'm not quite sure when he's going to make it because obviously they're really rushing ahead with Werewolf or Werewolf. But at the same time, I think this film would take a long time to put together. There's going to be tremendous production design meetings. It's going to be very hard to cast. Tremendous sets are going to have to be built. So it probably would be his next project after Werewolf. But I think this is an incredible idea. I think this is a package. This package is so good, it's the kind of package you rarely see anymore. Where, usually we're like, maybe they'll overcome that hurdle. Here we're like, well, my God, you got it right in every possible regard. It's like the Holy Trinity of how to make a Labyrinth movie. So I think it's phenomenal. Any questions or comments about this? Dre Robinson says, it's so good it must be fattening. That's hilarious. Dancing Dog 60 says the original was not a huge hit, correct? It was not. It's a cult hit, but I think it's built up quite an audience over the years. That's why I said I think that going after the adult audience is probably your strongest bet, because I think that they're going to be more interested in this than a child audience would be. Hey, Peyton. CM says Eggers for Elseworlds Gotham by Gaslight, or a Jack the Ripper movie. I think there are a lot of things that Robert Eggers could do, and I think I'm most proud of him that he's willing to do IP. You know, that is a difficult thing for a lot of artistic filmmakers to overcome, and a lot of them can't overcome it. But you don't become a Nolan or a Villeneuve without being able to take on IP. For Nolan, it was Batman, and for Villeneuve, it was Dune. And only then can you go and make an action movie out of the Odyssey, as Christopher Nolan is doing. I'm getting such a hoot out of the fact that he's making a blockbuster movie out of the Odyssey. I just find it just absolutely enthralling. That's right, B. Brown. I'm all toot-toot on the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen train. Paul, I don't think it would be rated R. I would probably want it to be rated PG-13 so that I could get families with older children to come. That's right, Garnet Fire. Eggers is Mr. Hollywood Goth. That's funny. Oh, Sophia says Benny Safdie was just cast in The Odyssey. He, of course, was also in Oppenheimer. The Great Adventure, I wouldn't put Tilda Swinton in this because I think it's too similar to her performance in Narnia. And I would want this to be its own thing. J. Jonah Jameson, that's a funny point. The Odyssey is, without a doubt, the original blockbuster. That's great. It played for decades. It played for hundreds of years. It played for centuries. All right, I think, and Psycho says Eggers is like a more realistic version of Tim Burton. That's a great way to pitch him if you were his agent. I love it. And I think, of course, in many ways, Tim Burton has almost become a caricature of himself. That's right, Ben 10. It does seem like they are doing the Odyssey as the correct time period, which is great. All right, let's do the Q&A for 10 minutes. All right, hold on. Here we go. Booyah! All right, so it's 3:54. You can ask me anything you'd like until 4:04, and then I must go. Fernando, I'm not covering the new Spider-Man show. The next Disney Plus show that I'm going to cover will be Daredevil. Scores, I haven't heard any new rumors about reshoots for Brave New World. I do know that it went through a number of reshoots, and so let's see how it turned out. It worked for Rogue One. That Wiccan fan says, I hope they hire Alan Heinberg for the Wiccan show. He created Wiccan, so he should. He was wonderful on Wonder Woman and Sandman, and as you said, he created Wiccan. It would be great if Alan, especially since he's probably free now, as I don't think they're going to move forward with Sandman. Oh, thank you, Ryan K. After what happened with Neil Gaiman. Marco, I had finished the Harry Potter movies. I thought it was phenomenal. I'm hoping to maybe make a video at some point. Psycho, I am reviewing Dogman. It will actually go up tomorrow morning. I got a little bit delayed this morning. Dancing Dog 60 says, is the era of leaks over? I think people are, I don't know. I think weirdly the trades have gotten into it, which is weird. I would like to see us totally move away from leaks. I think it hurts the movie-going experience. Let's just leave them on Reddit where they were before. Dirk, I think the new White Lotus looks great. I'm very excited for White Lotus Season 3. I heard the trailer performed particularly well, which is exciting. Walton Goggins Supremacy! CM's asking me and saying, do you think that being openly LGBT is still a hurdle for actors? You think that's why Cooper Koch is not getting anything, but Chavez is getting... But Chavez just got booked for more Ryan Murphy stuff. I'm not quite sure what's going on with Cooper Koch. I think the stuff that Chavez is booking is kind of low rent. Maybe Koch is hoping for something bigger. I don't think it's a hurdle. I don't. Alex says, are there any black superheroes other than Blade that you want to see have a solo film? I'm very excited about Jon Stewart on the Green Lantern show. I think that's going to be I'm very, very excited about that. The Ramekin says, is Captain America a good Valentine's Day movie? Well, if you love Marvel, right? I don't know. I think, going to the movies is going to the movies. And, obviously it's there for the long weekend. I think, I told you that I've had very bad experiences going to the movies actually on Valentine's Day, but I think you should be okay with Captain America because all the fans will be there. But, I'll never forget that time I went to the movies and there were two drunk women there, and that was the last time I went to a movie on Valentine's Day. It was bad. Let's see here. Garnet Fire says, have you seen the Hunter Schaeffer Mystique rumor? I remember the BTT community coming up with that idea, and I'd love to see it happen. I think it's a great idea. I think creatively, I'll be interested to see if Kevin Feige actually goes through with it, and I'd be curious to see how it is received. Again, it depends on what Kevin Feige's vision is for the X-Men. I think that I personally, as a comic book reader and an X-Men fan, I think it's a very good idea. Eric says, is Ralph Fiennes the frontrunner for the Oscar? You would think so, but I still don't feel a lot of heat for him for some reason. We'll see who ends up taking it. I think it might be Timothée Chalamet. AJ Jones says, for Labyrinth 2, do you know if Brian Ford is being brought back for art direction? Oh, that's a great, I love that you love Labyrinth so much, AJ. It's too early to know that. Nobody has said anything about that. Miles, I would like a Vixen project as well, particularly how well the character, that same set of powers was used for Kraven in the Kraven movie. That's right, Kay Walton. The Red Hulk is in Captain America 4, so he's a big hunka burning love. Let's see here. Sana says, how would you feel about Ariana doing a Joan Rivers bio with the right prosthetics? I think that Ariana Grande is very funny, but she does not have Joan Rivers' delivery style. And I think that I would strongly advise her against doing that. Barbara is worried about the near future for LGBT actors and content with the way things are going right now in the world. That would be very sad. So it's a reminder to watch and support on social media the shows that you want to see. What's the saying? Be the change in the world that you want to see. Sion says, except for the ones announced, what Disney film would you like to see a sequel to? You would love to see WALL-E 2. I'm not sure. I would like to see a Little Mermaid live action sequel. I thought they set that up for a really great adventure. I don't know how feasible that is from a business perspective, but just me personally as a fan, I would have liked to have seen that continue. I would have liked to have seen another live action Aladdin. Although, of course, Will Smith has complicated that situation. Oh, thank you, Cat Shack. Zeta says, Team Dorit or Team Kyle? Team Dorit. And whoever thought I would say that, but I really don't like Kyle. Let's see here. David says, how do you feel about Jennifer Coolidge's storyline not being continued in The White Lotus? Well, I think she went as far as she could. And, there's some rumor she might show up maybe as a ghost. So I wouldn't be surprised if she showed up. I think she might show up some way. And then Reed says, thoughts on the new M. Night and Nicholas Sparks movie with Jake Gyllenhaal starring? I'm really tired of M. Night Shyamalan, I gotta tell you. I'm real tired of him. Dory, I'm trying to see the Looney Tunes movie. I did reach out to them about a screening, but it's not until the end of February. Javier, I'm so glad you're enjoying Yellowstone. That's awesome. But I think I'm going to get on the Landman train. Twas with Sai says that they feel bad for Zoe Saldana because she seems very nice and maybe didn't know what she was getting into. Peyton says, hey Grace, I saw your tweet that you finished The Last of Us Part 2 and is a big fan of the games. I wanted to know your thoughts on the story. Well, I'm saving it for the coverage of the show because I don't want to spoil the show for anybody. But I just wanted to be able to cover it from a deeper level of understanding. I loved it. I thought it was extremely well done. I thought it was very ambitious, and I'll be curious, particularly with a lot of the Seattle sequences, to see if the show can deliver something at that level. I also worry a little bit about the casting decisions. I think it becomes a very different type of show. It moves very much away from Joel and focuses more on these two female characters. And that's not what a lot of people signed up for. So when you do a pivot like that, that's always very difficult to do. So I'll be curious to see if they can pull it off. Gap says, when do you think we should expect a teaser for A Night of Seven Kingdoms? Thank you for gifting a membership, Devon. I saw that George R.R. Martin said he saw all 6 episodes. 6 episodes, man! But he said he really liked it, so that's promising. HBO is like, you better freaking like it after what you did to the House of the Dragon. I like House of the Dragon. Faye says, did you see the Children of Blood and Bone film casting news? It's from the director of The Woman King. I did see that project coming together, and I hope it's well received. I think I'll like it. I like everybody who's involved. Dancing Dog 60 would like to see the Icon and Milestone characters. I believe you're talking about the characters of color from the comics. Oh, Art Lover, thanks. I'm glad we could keep you company on your lunch break. And then Wanda's attorney says, so sad I missed the Wanda story, but I just wanted to ask how you would incorporate her into Doomsday. I'd like to see her fill the Molecule Man role. I think they're going to change that considerably. I'm not sure how the Secret Wars storyline is going to be split between Doomsday and Secret Wars. I think, it remains to be seen exactly how they're going to adapt that story. I hope they do a better job than they did with Secret Invasion. And then Gerardo says, hey, Grace, me and my classmates at U of H will be filming our first short film this spring. We'd really appreciate a shout out to help us fundraise. Oh, that's great. Good for you. I hope everything goes well. That's very exciting. I hope that, making a short film is harder than it looks. So I'm glad that, you're ready to learn and to have an adventure. Oh, Jico, your birthday's coming up. Oh, congrats. That's very exciting, Jico. I hope you have a great birthday ahead of you. Oh, Giselle, I didn't see they released a trailer for Magazine Dreams. I'll be curious to see how that's received. And the House of Overt says, for your enjoyment, you proposed Jennifer Coolidge instead of Jennifer Connelly in Labyrinth. That would be a good sketch. Oh, hey, Jordan, I'm glad you just made it. But yeah, you can catch the rewatch. All right, it's 4:04. I got to get going. I have another screening to go to. I hope everybody's having a lovely day. Dogman review tomorrow morning. And then the next live stream will actually be on Friday afternoon. So I'll see you then. All right, everybody.